Welcome to Intellectual Medicine. Dr. Petteruti and Shannon. Today's theme, it's probably every week's theme, really. It's about freedom. Freedom, the freedom to make choices about how you want to live, about what happens to your body, about how you manage your body, about what you value relative to your health. Health and wellness are subjective terms. For one, health may mean the mental and emotional health and benefit they get from smoking and drinking. Now listen, I'm not advocating it. I'm putting it in a broader context. That is, it's not up to someone else to decide what you perceive as healthy. Now, healthy for those of us in the intellectual medicine lifestyle means pursuing extended youthful vitality, and as an extension of that, seeking to extend our lifespan. I like being alive. I'm not so sure how I'll like being dead. We'll wait and see about that. But for the moment, I'm going to extend the living part of that as long as I can. My ultimate goal is immortality, but I don't think that's feasible given today's technology. So I'll just take what I can get and we'll push it as far as we can. That's my idea of freedom. That's my idea of how I want to live. Now picture a world in which your freedoms are compromised, and there are a number of ways they're being taken away from you as we speak. We're going to explore some of those today and some of the reasons why it's happening. The lack of innovation is one in primary care medicine. And we'll get into that in the main show. Can I tell you, anybody that needs to be warned not to go outside in 95-degree heat is just a knucklehead and gets what they deserve. You get these public service announcements, please, if you're old and weak and feeble, don't go out in 95-degree heat. You think you need to be told? If you need to be told that, you're probably beyond help. So, but however, there are a couple of medications that people aren't always aware of. Whoops, we got to switch. If you're on a diuretic like hydrochlorothiazide, it increases your risk of dehydration. Ready, Shan? All right, good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Petteruti here at Intellectual Medicine, along with Shannon on a beautiful, hot 4th of July weekend. Today's theme, folks, today's theme is freedom. It is the 4th of July. It is Independence Day. It is your prerogative as an American to live free. Live free in mind, spirit, and body. Freedom to us means, in part, the freedom to pursue what you consider to be health on your own terms. The benefits of living young. We advocate this at Intellectual Medicine. The innovation required to redefine health. Your freedom is being robbed from you incrementally. It's being stolen from you. And in the background, we listen to Richie Havens as his prelude to the famous song Freedom. We'll be coming back to that in the show. But we need to talk about this because it's central to what we do at Intellectual Medicine. We have a top-down failure of healthcare to preserve wellness. It's a sick care system, so let's redefine it. Top-down failure, what does it mean? Well, right now, healthcare is being vertically integrated. That means that the hospitals, the specialists, and primary care are being aligned into big corporate silos. Now think about that. Think about the innovation and progress that's been made in primary care. What's new and exciting in primary care? Yeah, that's right, not much. It's still 1990s. We're petrified. It's like Back to the Future. There's not much innovation. You know why? There's not much money to be made in keeping you healthy. The money comes when you get sick and you need cool stuff to be done to you. So why in the world would a hospital or a pharmaceutical company or a medical device manufacturer care about your health? There's more money when you need a knee replacement because you've neglected that knee and you didn't know how to maintain its health and it broke down. There's more money when you develop angina and you have a heart attack, now, holy cow, here comes a floodgate of financial benefit. There's more money at the end of the trail of a domino effect of decisions, consequences, and activities that break down your vitality. Well, primary care needs innovation. And innovation comes in the form of intellectual medicine and other like-minded clinicians. We're not alone out there. We are a distinct minority, but we're growing and we're spreading. And you, the people, are voting with your feet and you're voting with your wallets. This is where you want to be. Many of you, not all, many. And it becomes your prerogative. To do that, you need freedom. Now think about this. Why in the world would anybody be opposed to the pursuit, the philosophy, and the ideal of intellectual medicine when we stand for maintaining your youthful health and extending your lifespan? Pause and think about what's bad about that. Well, it threatens dogma. It threatens orthodoxy. In fact, many of my colleagues support the pursuit that we are engaged in. Those who oppose it tend to come from a similar cut of cloth. Bureaucratic, administrative, petrified in the status quo, ensconced in its power structure. So now you're a big hospital and you make a ton of money when you can do stuff to people. Catheterizations, probing, needles, biopsies. Hooray! Well, why in the world would they want primary care under their wing? Simple, folks. It's to funnel you into their machine. They like to give lip service to preventative care. They give lip service to integrative care. Oh, we're going to communicate better, right? We're going to have that primary care doctor out in the boondocks, and it's going to be this sophisticated network, and there's going to be sharing of it. It's nonsense. That poor doctor is being crushed by volume. Look, I talked to a clinician of mine, like-minded colleague in Boston. He got fired from his hospital group. You know why? Was he a bad doc? No, he's brilliant. Were his patients doing poorly? No, they thrived. What was wrong with him? He wasn't seeing enough people. The conveyor belt wasn't moving fast enough through his office. Doctors don't like this. They have really, in many ways, passively acquiesced to it. And it sucks innovation out of the office. Now the doctor can no longer set the agenda. You can no longer set the agenda. The agenda is being set from above. Innovation needs freedom. Freedom needs the freedom to think and to speak about things that are new and on the horizon. And there's no place where we need more innovation than in cancer care. We're going to be talking about that today. Precision cancer treatment, doing genetic testing, has been shown to be helpful in less than 5% of cases, according to Dr. Vinay Prasad. He is an oncologist who's looked into this arena. The message is not that orthodox oncology is bad, it's that it's incomplete. And it has not solved every aspect of cancer care, nor have we. But innovation is called for, looking into new pathways. We're going to talk about vitamin D today. And before we leave the show, you'll know more about zinc and vitamin D than the average human, and you'll use that to your benefit. And we must talk about hormones again. I will ask my colleagues, those of you that are still petrified by 1990s information, number one, right? Get out from behind your computer and do a little real reading. Number two, stop yelling at my patients. Stop yelling at them for making freedom choices based on information that they have gathered to apply to their own health. And we're talking now specifically about bioidentical hormone replacement and why we believe this should be the standard of care. And you have two choices in our view: get on your hormones or suffer the consequence. And you can't just do that. That's a piece of the anti-aging puzzle we'll talk more about. And Shannon, we're going to talk about the addiction issue today. Should we bring that up?
We should.
We have to, because we're fighting the war against drugs. As you may recall, those of you that are of a certain age, Richard Nixon declared war against drugs back in the 1970s. Yeah, and back then, there were fewer people dying from overdose than today. How's that war going, folks? How are your tactics going? It's turned into a multi-billion-dollar crime and punishment dog and pony show with no benefit and no outcome. Every now and then, you'll see a splash on TV about an arrest being made. Woohoo. No, we need innovative ways of thinking in these arenas. We're going to come back. And when we come back, what do you want to talk about next, Shane? You want to do hormones, Suboxone, hormones? We're going to talk about the 4-year study and why you should be on hormones and why the information you've received is flawed from orthodox medicine. I am Dr. Steve Petteruti. This is Intellectual Medicine.
Southern New England.
So just one question. Would you like to come back with that song that you have queued up, or do you want to go stuff?
No, let's keep with that. Let's see if you can advance it to the point where he's verbalizing the freedom. And later in that song, he starts the refrain, which goes, freedom. You'll hear it. You guys remember Woodstock, anybody? Yeah. So when I was a kid growing up, I was too young to be part of the Woodstock generation, which I was grateful for. I didn't like the hippies. They kind of scared me as a kid. They were like disruptive. They were violent. They were using drugs. It creeped me out. But I do like the story, the song "Freedom." It just inspires my thinking. It's such a visceral call. Now you can't have freedom unless you have freedom of choice. And you can't have freedom of choice unless options are available to you. Healthcare is really weird. We have all of these vested interests that are buying out influence and power. And they are corrupting the mission of a lot of the institutions of medicine in a way that crushes innovation. God forbid if you speak about innovative cancer. We talk about vitamin C here because we feel it has a role to play in helping people fight cancer. We talk about mistletoe, same reason. We're going to be talking about vitamin D today, same reason. You put this together, and whether or not you ultimately succumb to cancer or you live through it and beyond it, the quality of your life matters every day you're living. And that part is a way in which we have a lot to offer folks. So we need to talk about that. And then the freedom, really the freedom to pursue hormone therapy. It's being challenged. For some reason, a lot of orthodox medicine doesn't like you being on hormones. And rather than have an honest conversation, they seek to eliminate freedom by taking the choice away. And there's some sneaky ways they do it. One of them is by using the FDA to crush upstarts. Another is using Department of Health to squelch thought and speech. And that is kind of what we face in our pursuit. So freedom today, the freedom to let off fireworks. I always hear people talk about the dangers of fireworks, right? Is it not self-evident that that which explodes has the potential to be dangerous? Is that not self-evident? However, they're fun, right? That which has an element of danger oftentimes has fun associated with it. We are willing to accept some risk for the benefit of joy. So, lighting off a firework, I'm kind of joyful. Another activity. So I'm going to go whitewater rafting with my kids this weekend. It's a little bit dangerous. It's whitewater. What the hell are you doing getting whitewater? Bad things can happen. And much safer to stay home. Much safer never to shoot off a firework. Is it really? I don't know. Safety? They talk about football. I love football. I love playing it. Safe if you don't play, right? Safe if you don't risk injury. More people are dying from the disease of inactivity than anything else. Better to cultivate them into an active lifestyle.
So I'm going to take a crack at what you're going for. Just let me know if it's not exactly what you're looking for, but I think this will have a good sound to it.
Okay, we'll let it run and then I'll signal you off when we want to cut it out.
About 10 seconds.
10 seconds, Shan. What are we doing next? We're doing 4-year study. Hormones? Suboxone? I'm gonna mention Suboxone and then we'll go right into hormones. We are back. It's Dr. Steve Petteruti with the sounds of Richie Havens in the background. Sing it, Richie. Freedom. We want freedom, don't we, Shan? Freedom to choose how we want to live. All right. Thanks, Ty. Ty, do you remember Woodstock? You don't, do you? Yeah, you were a little bit unborn then. Now, what do 20-somethings know about the 60s and Woodstock? What would be your immediate impression of that time frame? Yeah, that's on. Well, listen, as an element of that, unfortunately, the addictive epidemic, it really has never abated. Every now and then it sort of elevates and then it recedes, but it's always there in the background. And one of the things that makes it hard to treat is stigmatization. The idea that if you've somehow acquired a disease entity of addiction, that you need to be shunted into the corner and put on an island, right? These little like addiction center. Well, once upon a time, Suboxone was supposed to be an attempt to mainstream treatment. That is, it would enable primary care to weave addiction treatment into the entire spectrum of healthcare rather than have it carved out. Well, it didn't work that way, in part because those of us who have endeavored to become certified in Suboxone, now Shannon, you're certified in Suboxone therapy, correct?
I am.
Congratulations on achieving that distinction. And Dr. Michael Souza at East Bay is also certified in Suboxone therapy. Well, what's happened to it, it's been carved out and put into clinics. Now, here's why at Intellectual Medicine we advocate, and we have our pathway. It's the executive Suboxone pathway, and we want people who need this service to be aware that it's there and there's no shame in pursuing it. It's not a clinic-based dynamic. And no, your insurance does not cover your care at Intellectual Medicine. Let's make that clear. Your insurance works for everything else. Your labs, imaging should it be needed, in many cases the prescriptions themselves. But we pursue freedom of practice. We need bigger boundaries than insurance would otherwise allow. And here's why. Suboxone has been shown to reduce the rate of relapse significantly. However, it comes with side effects that need to be managed. Most Suboxone centers focus on that. Suboxone, that's it. Next, Suboxone, that's it. Next, problem, it can cause fatigue, weight gain, sexual dysfunction. It can interfere with hormone production. So at Intellectual Medicine, we have a capacity to look at all the 360 degrees of that issue and address it. And we're there to help that select cohort of people who feel this approach has value for them. It's another plank of freedom that we advocate for. Suboxone, executive Suboxone at Intellectual Medicine is now available, and we're there to help people not just with managing their addiction, but with living a vital and enriched life while they do it. Now we have to talk about hormone therapy because it came up again. It comes up every week. Our poor patients are being verbally abused in some cases by perhaps well-intentioned orthodox gynecologists and primary care. So at Intellectual Medicine, many of our patients share other clinicians in their care pathways. And this week, at least two of ours who are on bioidentical hormone therapy had to be, well, yelled at by their orthodox gynecologist for using hormone therapy. Something to the effect of, are you crazy? That's bad for you. It will cause you harm. It's back to the future. All these opinions have a basis in the bulk of studies done in the 1990s. Those studies were done using horse urine-derived hormones. Well, at Intellectual Medicine, we try to keep up, not try, we do. We keep up with the latest information and research, and we apply it to our patients in an innovative way. Now, here's what we know for men and women when you're on your hormone therapy. Strong bones, strong muscles, brain benefit, energy benefit. You notice I haven't even gotten to the sexual vitality yet. That's important. Do you realize, Shannon, that some of our critics have criticized us for talking about sexual vitality as if it's irrelevant? It's not really part of medicine.
Because you're aging, right?
It's right.
You shouldn't do that anymore.
Really,
right?
It's embarrassing to think about people your
You're
age.
over 50. Just you don't need that.
Whoa. Hey, take it to your grave, folks. Take it to your grave. Anyhow, that is, live vitally up until the last day of your mortal life, anyhow. So there was a study done in 2007 by a researcher named Fournier. It was published in Breast Cancer Research and Treatment. And they reviewed the results of a French cohort study of over 80,000 women. And the question asked was, does the type of hormone matter with regard to breast cancer? And the short answer is yes, it does. It turns out that progesterone, not medroxyprogesterone, not Provera, not your grandmother's horse urine junk, but the bioidentical progesterone, when combined with estrogen, had no increased risk of breast cancer. When combined with the artificial hormone, that increased risk became manifest. Furthermore, there was a recent article showing an increase in the rate of endometrial and ovarian cancer in America. And they tie it into the absence of hormone therapy, which otherwise had shown a decline in those cancers. Now we look at other studies from Dr. Rebecca Glasser. She is a proponent of testosterone therapy for women, who has noted a correlation between testosterone therapy and a decrease in breast cancer risk. Now, this information is ever evolving, but it's information that our patients are finding on their own, Shannon, as they go to the internet and do their own research. You know what we call that, folks? Freedom. It's freedom because you're using your brain, your intellect, and you're listening to what I say, and you're challenging it, and I love that, right? Healthy skepticism is different than entrenched cynicism. I was a skeptic when I first heard about anti-aging medicine some 15 years ago, and then I started researching it. And now we live it, we practice it, and we pursue it. So this is important. It's important to know what your choices are. You know, it was much easier 20 years ago when you had no choice, right? You just got old. Well, now you have an active choice to make. How do you want to manage your aging process? Do you want to plug into this? Now, here's what hormone therapy can do. We talked about the muscles, the bones, the genital health, the sexual vitality, the mental clarity. It turns out that progesterone promotes brain cell growth and enhances immune function. Progesterone is important for your brain. So I've had some of my colleagues will say, well, why would you put a woman on progesterone if she does not have a uterus? Answer: brain health and bone health. So now we're looking at other elements. It turns out that every cell in our body just about is hormonally responsive. And this holds true for men as well. So on to hormones, look at the balance. How about heart disease? Well, in heart disease, we know that hormone therapy really doesn't do anything to prevent arteriosclerosis. Might it accelerate the rate of coronary artery disease or arteriosclerosis? That is hotly debated. At Intellectual Medicine, we have researched this, and the bulk of evidence points away from any compelling risk. There are others who would disagree with that opinion and perceive it as having an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. There are some studies that correlated it, but we see those studies as having dramatic flaws and limitations, not the least of which is they were using old-fashioned product, and the route of administration was inappropriate in our view, not ideal. Furthermore, if you're seeing anybody who claims to be doing anti-aging therapy, and they're not looking at your heavy metal, and they're not looking at preventative arterial health and preventative brain health, it's not anti-aging medicine, it's hormone replacement only. We look at those elements because you don't get to be past 100 with accelerated aging arteries. And we know that the hormone therapy alone will not keep it open. So the objective here is freedom. It's freedom to have this information dispensed in an unbalanced manner, in a balanced manner, unbiased, that's what I meant to say. So my patient, she was 60-something, feels great, weight is down, muscles up, brain is clear, and her doctor's yelling at her. And the doc said to her at one point, I can tell from your body language you don't want to hear this. She said, no, I do. I want your opinion, but I want to make my own decision. And she listened and she processed and she decided to stay on her hormone therapy despite the negative opinion rendered because she did her homework. So you can't make a bad decision when you've made the decision that's right for you and you've done it with balanced information. When you've listened to the alternatives and you've made a choice that fits your life. That's what we call freedom. To have that freedom, you need places like Intellectual Medicine that can give you innovation, that can give you freedom of choice. And we can do it because we've stepped out of the mainstream of orthodox medicine in many ways. The best of orthodoxy combined with the best of innovation. So here we are, but we got to cut, Shan. We're going to take a break. Now, when we come back, though, you will find out about zinc, vitamin D, and how they can help you the role of vitamin D in cancer, the role of zinc in infection and prevention, what dose is safe, what do we recommend. And but first, we got to go to the Revolution Soft Wash News Center. They did a great job cleaning our roof. And Doug Lizette with the news. Hey, Doug. Oh, boy. Yeah, 4th of July. I'm going to let me off some fireworks. I don't know, Shan. No, I'm talking to my group here. How many of you guys out there are going to be lighting off fireworks? You ever go down invited to a cookout once in Gaspé, in Warwick? And when you're standing on the shore of Narragansett Bay, it's kind of fun because rimming the entire bay, just backyard fireworks, colors popping all over the place. And on a nice clear night, you can see them all, and it's kind of a nice show. All you can think about is every one of those people are breaking the law. So is the law worth breaking? Is it a form of civil disobedience that we want to celebrate our Independence Day by shooting off contraband fireworks? I don't know. Oh boy. So should we talk about addiction and this crushing thing? So when they can't solve the problem, they look for scapegoats to hang in lieu of a remedy. The scapegoats in this case are in some cases the victims of the addictive crisis itself. So the people that are buying, selling, and using drugs become the target for criminal incarceration, which just does nothing to stem the cycle of addiction. The doctors that have the audacity to engage in treating patients with chronic pain, an unintended consequence of the zeal of getting opioids off the street has been to frighten doctors away from managing chronic pain. There is a role for thoughtful, balanced, and controlled use of opioids in the face of chronic pain for many people. The problem is the access to that has been denied. And almost worse than that is that our patients have become discriminated against. I hear stories from my patients that are 3 back surgeries, walking with a cane, pain every day. The medications make their life functionally bearable. With them, they can get up out of bed, they can drive their car, they can function. Without them, misery. And some of these patients will get the evil grimace from the pharmacist. They'll get the passive judgment. They'll get the "you're really just a druggie" mentality projected onto them from doctors, emergency rooms. This is part of the groupthink that we need to move away from. There's a balance out there, and the balance is being skewed away from the proper pathway of empathy for people in pain, empathy for people with addiction. I don't know the total solution here, but I know that playing cops and robbers is a bad one because it just continually fails. We need to look at other nations, and we need to look at experimental approaches in our own culture. Maybe we should just legalize everything and make it a drug treatment pathway. Wouldn't that cut the legs out from under organized crime? Suppose you could just register with the state, get your opioids in a known dose concurrent with your counseling and support for your general health. I mean, in some ways, isn't that what methadone is? Right? Isn't that what Suboxone is? State-sanctioned opioids given in controlled amounts of known dosages. I don't think you'll ever totally get rid of this, but boy, you can definitely do a better job than what we're doing, right? Filling up prisons. But it's good business, right? Big business if you're a prison guy. A for-profit prison, how sick is that? A for-profit prison. Yay, let's make more people inmates. Not to mention the police industry, the DEA industry. These are industries, people. They're highly paid, and part of their compensation comes from our fear of the opioid crisis and our desire to stem it from happening. So we pay billions of dollars in interdiction and pursuit. Lawyers get paid, DEA agents, police. They're great people, but they're being misused. This is not how they should be pursued. So anyhow, back to the hormone issue. I can't believe this is still happening. I can't believe it's still happening. That's why our patients seek us out, for balanced information, right? You want to live that young life. Exercise and strength training are great, but they're not enough. I've had many people who will come into me and they'll say, I've been going to the gym. I'm a 53-year-old woman. I'm going to the gym and I can't tone my body. My muscles don't respond. I've got fat in places I never thought I'd have it. Well, without hormones in you, that'll never change. You'll have to get them replaced. Otherwise, you can accept your new state of being as your kind of new normal. We don't advocate that. The same thing happens with men. The gradual atrophy. You look at the normal trajectory of age. You go into involution, right? Things kind of wither. So I don't like withering. Withering is bad. I intend to not wither, Shannon. So that's my mantra. Stay strong. Okay, we got vitamin D coming up next. Zinc, cancer, primary care, Fournier.
Now back to Intellectual Medicine with Dr. Petteruti. Call in now at 438-WPRO or 1-800-321-WPRO.
Yeah, we are back. Our theme of the day, it's freedom. It's your freedom to choose, your freedom to capitalize on innovation. Innovation at intellectual medicine, innovation in other fields of medicine. Did you know that if it were listed as a cause of death, medical care would be the number 3 cause of death nationally, right behind heart disease and cancer? We're talking about complications from iatrogenic events in the hospital, side effects of drugs and medicines, consequences of procedures. There's now a screening test available for colon cancer that does not require anything to go up your butt. How cool is that? No scoping, no prepping, no drug. The Cologuard treatment has been a great launch. It's been a great advantage. That's Cologuard. For those of you that have not heard of this before, it's an alternative to colonoscopes. For many of you, for most of you. Every week in America, over 1,000 complications from colonoscopies. It makes sense, right? You're putting a scope up your butt. Things can happen that aren't so good. Now, back when I was 50, I had a colonoscopy to screen for colon cancer. It was the only game in town, and I'm glad I did it. Now, however, I don't think I would do that again, Shan. I would just do this other study, right? A little sample of the stool, away you go. That's innovation. The innovation that threatens a colossal cash flow business, the colonoscopy business. Hey, if you're the dude that just invested $5 million in your outpatient colonoscopy center, you're not too happy about this, I don't think, right? But there's still a role for colonoscopy. There always will be. Most people don't even get screened, and an abnormal screening would trigger a diagnostic scope. So hospitals are dangerous to your health in many cases. Doctors can be dangerous to your health. I've said this before, beware the x-ray. So how many of you get go to see your dentist and they do that like panogram thing, the dental x-ray? Shannon, they want to do that to you when you went?
Oh, they did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then how did you manage that?
I just said I didn't want it.
Yeah. Did they push
They were
back?
fine. No.
Yeah, they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my guy knows me by now. I like him. I go in and he just goes, I know, no x-rays. Why are we going to irradiate my head when I have no symptom? Why? So they can see what might be there? Let's take a look. Yeah, taking a look never made anybody feel better. If you have back pain, do not get an x-ray, people, please. Back pain, x-rays are nearly always useless. You need to ask questions. Doctor, if I don't get the x-ray, do I risk death or some imminent horrible fate? If your knee hurts, slow down. I had a patient in the other day with a painful shoulder. Maybe I should get an MRI or an x-ray. No, you treat it first. Then, if things aren't getting better, you investigate. Slow down. Our rush for imaging has subjected us to an untold consequence of carcinogenic ionizing radiation. On top of that, when you get hospitalized, you have to avoid being hospitalized. You take care of your health, and the risk of hospitalization goes down. 22% of people that are hospitalized get unexpected bills. You think you have insurance? Yeah. Wait until you have to be hospitalized, and then comes the aftermath. Oh, you had a heart attack. Oh, well, you know what? The anesthesiologist was out of network. How are you supposed to know that? Lying in your hospital bed. Then the anesthesiologist who works in the hospital is not in the network. Shannon, you had experience with this, right?
I did, with the only pediatric audiologist in the state. Oh, great. Hasbro. Now, we had the best Blue Cross plan,
Yep.
of Rhode Island. We get a bill for like $5,000 because he wasn't a network. Well, the only one in the state is not a network?
Right.
How is that possible?
Furthermore, they never told you that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
You just go there, hey, I got the best Blue Cross in the state, and I'm covered. And then you get a bill. What happened to that bill?
I had to pay it.
We had to pay that?
Yes.
That stinks. That's awful. I didn't know that happened.
It was years ago, don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, but your point is very well taken. Here's what should happen, folks, and I call upon this. Here's what we need. We need legislation to protect Rhode Islanders. It's called transparency and immediacy in knowledge of the bill. I don't want to know after the fact. I want to know at the time that you refer me, at the time that a procedure is being done, I want you to tell me this will cost you $3,000 because it's not covered. How hard can that be? We have computers everywhere. They can tell where you are, and Uber could tell where you are in any moment in time. I have my patient go to the lab. You give them a lab slip, they go to the lab, right? 3 months later, you get a bill for $1,200 because of uncovered testing. This, folks, is a scam. It's like going to a restaurant with a blank menu, not knowing how much stuff costs. The waiter comes to you afterwards and says, now you owe $4,000. How do you want to pay? Right? This is awful, and it needs to end. And it can end if there's a will to do it. This idea of having blinded bills. But anyhow, the immediate thing is to avoid getting there. So how do you avoid getting there? Well, one thing you do is you keep your immune system humming along. A strong immune system is your guardian at the gate against infections. There's a correlation between immune health and decreased cancer risk. Now, unfortunately, cancer patients often don't have their immune system thoroughly looked at in regard to micronutrients. Now, what we have found, because we do this testing frequently, is a near universal inadequacy of vitamin D levels in our patients. Vitamin D has been shown to be an important element of your immune function. There's something called the vitamin D binding macrophage activating factor. It's abbreviated GCMAF. It's available as a cancer-fighting infusion, not in America. You want that, you go to Tijuana or you go to Germany. But we know vitamin D is a component of that activity. If you don't have adequate vitamin D in your system, the immune system doesn't function as well. And there's a correlation in a study done from the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, increasing cancer risk with low vitamin D. We believe that that same increased risk will likely extend to other forms of malignancy because the immune system is central to fighting it. Well, it's summertime, Doc. I don't need vitamin D, right? I have my short sleeve shirt on. I haven't tested anybody yet that has a vitamin D level that would be considered optimal. Not one. Not one. From the Institute of Medicine, they have decided that 4,000 units a day of vitamin D is safe to take without any monitoring. And I would say, based upon their research and my experience looking at hundreds and hundreds of these cases, that that's true. That the average person can handle that amount without a risk of having the levels go too high. In fact, many people need to go even higher. Now, we see patients frequently that are either fighting cancer or have had it in the past. We see vitamin D levels in the single digits. And sometimes they need IV infusions of vitamin D to get their levels up to speed. Some of them need as much as 10,000 units per day. So when you're seeing your doctor, ask him to test you for the 25-hydroxy vitamin D. There are different ways to test it. That's the one that we target. And our objective is to get it at 50, typically recorded in nanogram per deciliter, but 50 of 25-hydroxy vitamin D is the target level. And if you wanted to start based upon the Institute of Medicine's recommendation, doing the 4,000 units a day, you'd be well advised. It's a safe level. Now, remember, vitamin D will facilitate the absorption of other minerals and other micronutrients, including lead. So one way to minimize that risk is to minimize your exposure. Get yourself tested for heavy metals. We do that. Dr. Souza does that in East Bay, in East Providence. We do it in Warwick. Should be done, in our view, as a urinary test provocative heavy metal test so we could pull the metals out of their hiding places. So that's a quick story on vitamin D. When we come back, we're going to talk about the correlation of zinc and infection and what doses we recommend in that array as well. We'll be right back after a short break. This is Dr. Petteruti along with Shannon at Intellectual Medicine and WPRO.
So before you take them out, so do you like the sound of what I'm doing, or do you want me to go with like the normal type of stuff coming back from this one?
Now we'll keep with the freedom theme, and then at the end we'll go back to everyday people.
You've got it. And Shannon, can you hear me without the headphones? So Doug, the assistant program director, doesn't know it offhand. He's the one who usually knows that stuff. So after the show, I'll give you his email, and then you can hit him up and get it and have it on record.
Okay.
So we're working on enhancing your viewing experience, and in the near future we'll have something enhanced, right, Shan?
Mm-hmm.
What will that enhancement be?
Better Wi-Fi so the video doesn't cut out, and a way that they can hear callers.
Yeah, so we're working on better Wi-Fi so the video doesn't cut out, and a way for you to hear the call-in guests. Now, next week we have a guest coming on from Doctor's Data Lab. We'll be talking about heavy metal testing and about chelation in great detail. I know it doesn't sound exciting, but trust me, it is. It's one of the cornerstones of health, one of the hidden causes of cancer. That, along with Monsanto's Roundup. We got to mention the lawsuit with Monsanto. 800 people class action suit against Monsanto for their cancer-causing Roundup. Can I say that, or will I get sued again?
I'll fight it.
Monsanto will?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know that people are dying. They'll wait for them all to die off.
That's why people around the world
1 minute.
depend on Tiger
Okay.
Balm. Tiger Balm goes right to your aches and pains. Made from a blend of herbal ingredients, Tiger Balm is the nation's #1 selling pain-relieving ointment.
So
Rub it in,
that
it works.
and that,
Available in ultra strength.
Monsanto and Roundup. Did you know that China is no longer accepting imported plastic?
Mm-hmm.
With Tiger Balm.
That they, I didn't know that. See, I always felt good about tossing my plastic in the recycle bin. It turns out that you toss it in the bin and it's going to just stack up in some landfill in America because they can't ship it anywhere anymore. Like China used to accept 50% of the world's plastic, and they stopped taking imported plastic now.
I thought we recycle it.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It gets shipped to China, and China recycles it.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
That's scary.
Yeah.
US tax shield 800-466-9625.
We're back. It's Dr. Steve Petteruti along with Shannon on WPRO, your voice of Southern New England, your voice of freedom. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being an advocate for freedom by virtue of the choices you make, one of which is to support WPRO and listening to intellectual medicine and coming to our center and studying and researching this on your own. We love you for that. We love supporting outlets of good information. We encourage people to support your local newspapers, both Providence Journal and others. Look, we don't love everything they print, but we love that they print. And particularly after the assault that took place down in Annapolis, these reporters are heroic people in many cases. They start to say things that the power establishment doesn't like, and bad things sometimes happen to them. But our feelings and our passion is with them in the way that they have made a sacrifice to bring you truth and information. But we do need to talk. So we're just talking off air. The plastic issue now. I always felt good putting my plastic in the recycle bin. I'm being a good man. I'm putting it in the recycle bin. Did you know that most of our recycles, half of them, get shipped overseas? And a lot of that ends up in China. Until recently, China is no longer accepting imported plastic. It has nothing to do with the tariffs, but they just don't have any place to put it. They're at max capacity. So what's happening? It's backing up in your landfills. It's backing up. There are huge swirls of plastic in the ocean. All these like little water bottles that we like to drink from, yeah, not so healthy, folks. Plastic is fragmenting in your water. So people who routinely drink water from plastic bottles, you're chronically exposing yourself to microscopic levels of plastic. That ain't good. And you toss those bottles recklessly around. You see them everywhere on the side of the road. You see them now. They're going to jam up the landfills. So try to get off of your plastic bottle habit if you can. Look at primary prevention of pollutants. But we have a couple minutes, Shannon. I want to talk a little bit about zinc. You know, we have an infusion at our drip bar. It's called the Shield. And the Shield has micronutrients intended to help support immune function. Here's what we know. The majority of chest colds are viral, like 90%. They do not need antibiotic, especially people that are otherwise healthy. The majority of throat infections, sinus infections are viral. What do we do about them? We heave antibiotics at them, in many cases, a total waste that can cause harm. At Intellectual Medicine, we advocate for safer approaches that do not utilize antibiotics. We have designed an infusion we call the Shield, and its intent is to enhance and support immune function. So from a Cochrane review, now this, folks, is out of the orthodox medical world. They're usually not very kind to supplements. A Cochrane review of 15 studies, zinc taken within 24 hours of the signs of viral illness, shortened duration by up to 50%, cut in half. That's a big deal. It turns out that zinc reduces the virus's ability to reproduce and interferes with the virus sticking onto your cells. That's good news. How much zinc can you take? Well, you can take up to 40 milligrams safely, particularly in short duration. In some settings, superdosing at 100 milligrams can be considered safe. I do not recommend that unless you're being guided by a naturopath or a doctor who knows what they're doing. At Intellectual Medicine, we bypass your absorption. Problem with zinc, it competes with calcium, magnesium, and other minerals for absorption in your gut. So if you're taking any of those other supplements and you put zinc on top of it, you may be limiting the amount of zinc getting into your body. We bypass that barrier by giving it intravenously in a simple, safe, painless IV infusion, and we combine it with high-dose vitamin C, because vitamin C has also been shown to be an asset to your immune function. Zinc can be lost by sweat. It can be lost through poor intake. Vegetarians are notoriously low in zinc because it's abundant in meat product. So there are a couple of ways that we believe zinc has value. One of them is acutely in the face of a viral illness, and the other is more chronically for people that can benefit from immune support, especially those of you whose diet may be somewhat deficient in the oral intake. So zinc with vitamin C as an infusion is available. Now remember, folks, if you get a virus in the summer, that's Lyme disease till proven otherwise. You get a viral illness, chills and sweats and muscle aches. Do not assume it's a summer flu. Ask your doc to go test you for Lyme disease. It's so prevalent. We're at ground zero here. I don't understand, Shannon, why some doctors are reluctant to do the testing. I think it's because they get confused by how to manage the outcome. But that's our advocacy. So the zinc dose we talked about, vitamin D, we talked about that as well. The dose range for vitamin D, up to 4,000 international units. In some cases, we go higher. How about vitamin C? A study, this was done from plastic and reconstructive surgery, demonstrated that a mix of antioxidants could accelerate healing by 20%. Chief among those elements in the mix was vitamin C. So we advocate that for people that are recovering from operative procedures. Collagen demand, when there's been a hospitalization, your micronutrient support goes through the floor. Vitamin D levels crash. We see people post-operatively, again, vitamin D in the single digits. Vitamin C levels plummet. That's critical for collagen formation, which goes to your healing. Well, picture yourself post-operatively. Your micronutrients are crashed through the floor. You don't feel so good. Your gut's not working because you were just given drugs, so the gut's not working. They gave you antibiotics in the hospital, so your colon is all screwed up. The microbiota is skewed. Your gut's not functioning properly. Your appetite is off, so you don't feel like eating. And in this environment is a beautiful time to use an IV infusion to bypass the gut issues. We do have one at our drip bar for perioperative use, pre and post-operative, that we believe has the capacity to be supportive of the recovery process. This is what we call innovation, people. It's looking at things from a different angle. This is what we call freedom, the opportunity to decide how you want to live. The innovation needed to expand the boundaries of medicine and enhance your sense of health and vitality. The freedom to pursue treatment for conditions that are not well understood or valued. The freedom to get your obesity treated without judgment and with successful outcomes. Or now, the executive Suboxone treatment pathway at Intellectual Medicine. It takes the shame out of Suboxone treatment. It takes the stigma, destigmatizes it, and it enables us to look at other means of supporting your vitality that are not addressed simply by Suboxone alone. One of the problems, Shan, with addiction recovery is when an addict is no longer using their drug, that is sometimes considered to be an endpoint of success when the patients know it doesn't solve all the other aspects of their well-being. And in many cases, it's a beginning point, and they need other pathways to help support what comes next. But we have Tony DeJesus waiting on deck with Big Blue Bug Solutions. And listen, folks, get that junk out from under your sink. I'm talking about a lot of the poisons and toxins. If you don't know what you're doing, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? I have nothing under my sink. The only thing I have at my house when it comes to toxins is Tony's phone number, because I don't want to screw with things that I don't know about. Man's got to know his limits. Now, I'm talking chiefly about Roundup as well. Has crabgrass ever killed anybody? Are dandelions carcinogenic? Answer to both no and no. But Monsanto would have you believe that there are pox on mankind, and you must have Roundup. And they show Roundup in the most genteel of marketing ploys, right? I got this little jug. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to boop, boop, boop. I'm going to kill those weeds. People, take the bone out of your stomach and pull the suckers out. It ain't going to hurt you.
Have that commercial where it's like a gel and you have to go down and put it on every weed. I think just pull it up. You're down there anyway, right?
Right, get that little tool thing and
Yeah.
right. It's ridiculous. It's Monsanto's being sued by 800 people for causing lymphoma. 800 people. The active ingredient in Roundup is just a nanogram away from Agent Orange that they used in Vietnam. I remain very skeptical of the safety of Roundup. I got to be careful with my words here. You know what I mean, Shan? I would not use this product if you paid me. I would pay some. No, I don't put. We don't put weed killers on our house.
We don't.
Yeah.
We just use organic fertilizer.
Yeah, really. I don't.
It's
I don't.
fine.
It's
Our grass
fine.
is good.
Look,
It's green.
our kids run around on that lawn. Our pet dog runs around on that lawn. So when you see bugs, please, because what's most people, they react when they see an ant, right? They take about 9 gallons of this crap and they just douse it. They don't know what the hell. They just want to kill the damn bug. So you need the pros. You need Tony, and we're not sponsored by anybody, are we, Shan?
Still working on that.
We're not, but we advocate that which we believe in, and we believe in your freedom to live the life that you want to live, at the weight that you want to live it at. There's a remedy for obesity. Yeah, we got that. There's a way to energize your life and to increase youthful vitality. Yeah, we got that. There's a way to support your fight against cancer. There's a way to create a healthier environment if you've ever had cancer, with the possibility of reducing its recurrence. We got that too. And now we got you covered if you're battling the disease of addiction. Intellectual medicine, the home of innovation, primary care innovation, primary care anti-aging innovation. That's what we live for. Well, folks, have a beautiful weekend. Enjoy your freedom. Celebrate it. You're an American, damn it. You get to do as you please. I'm Dr. Steve Petteruti. This is Intellectual Medicine. Along with Shannon, we're wishing you 120 youthful years. Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. Stay with us each week as Shannon endeavors to make your viewing experience more pleasurable with her technical wizardry. We'll be back next week. Yes, Shan? I think we have our guest coming from Doctor's Data, so it'll be a fun and valuable show, as she will dive into the heavy metal issue in great detail to hopefully enlighten and guide you all. We'll see you next week.